Hello Smile Tribe, welcome back to another video. So good to have you here. Someone said, and I quote, that whether you think you can or you think you cannot, you're completely right. As a man or a woman thinks in his or her heart, so is he or she. Everything you see around you began with thought. What thought seeds are you planting right now? The story of creation began with a thought. The story of redemption began with a thought. Everything is first pictured as a thought before it becomes a reality. Let me tell you a story. Hundreds of years back, Michelangelo created the statue of David. Michelangelo is a renowned sculptor of his time, arguably the greatest of his time. The story of the creation of David is quite interesting and contains lessons for all of us. Michelangelo was commissioned by the Medicis to create a statue for the main square in Florence. The Medicis were the wealthiest and most powerful family of Italy at that time. A commission for a statue from the Medicis was not only a great honor, it was also a tax that could not be refused. For 2 years, Michelangelo searched for a block of stone out of which he could create the kind of masterpiece the Medicis were looking for. Finally, on a side street of Florence, partially overgrown with weeds and covered with dirt, he found a huge slab of marble lying on wooden trestles. It had been hauled from the mountains years before and had never been used. Michelangelo had walked past this same street many times, but this time he stopped and looked more closely. As he walked back and forth studying the block of marble, he actually envisioned the statue of David and saw it in its entirety. You see, Michelangelo had a picture in his mind of what he was about to create before even going out. The marble laid down there, and when there was no picture in view, it was just an ordinary stone. But when that thought dropped in his heart, that stone got a purpose. So what did he do? He went to work. Have it at the back of your mind that every great masterpiece you see, just like yourself, the masterpiece you are in the rough, requires hard and great work to bring to a refined work, or a refined masterpiece, if I may put it that way. Michelangelo quickly arranged to have workmen haul the block of marble to his studio some distance away. He then began the long hard work of hammering and chiseling. It took him 2 solid years of work to create the rough outline of the statue. He then put his hammers and chisel aside and spent 2 more years polishing and sanding before the statue was complete. Like I said before, you're a diamond in the rough. For you, it might require more than 4 years to get into the masterpiece that you can become. Michelangelo was already famous as a sculptor, and the news that he was working on a major commission for the Medicis spread all over Italy. When the day came for its first public viewing, thousands of people came from all over Italy, gathered in the main square. When it was unveiled, the crowd stood gaping in awe. It was breathtakingly beautiful. People cheered, women fainted. The audience was amazed at the incredible beauty of the enormous statue. Michelangelo was immediately recognized as the greatest sculptor of his age. Afterward, when Michelangelo was asked how he was able to create such a masterpiece, he replied by saying that he saw the David complete and perfect in the marble. All he did was to remove everything that was not David. There are so many parallels between you and myself and the statue and the David statue. You see, we are all masterpieces. We just need to take away things that are not part of the masterpiece, and that would take time. So don't allow any limiting thoughts limit you from believing that you're the masterpiece which God has created you to be. Get to work on yourself. Dream big dreams. As a matter of fact, why don't I challenge you? This morning I did this challenge myself. I did it 10 years ago and I did it again this morning. Why not create a dream list? Remember that there's a difference between a wish and a plan. Create a dream list of everything you want and hope to be, as if there was no obstacle, there was absolute guarantee that you'll be successful. What will be your dreams? Get a piece of paper. Here is mine. I wrote mine this morning. I want to quickly show you. Here's my dream list. I know you cannot see it clearly, but you can see just right at the top of it, my dream list, and then underline it and get to writing. If somebody that could afford to sponsor all your dreams appeared at your doorstep today and asked you what your dreams were, what would they be? Write all those down. What makes the difference between a dream and a wish is the plan of action. It's okay to build castles in the air, but as you're building castles in the air, remember that you have to put in the work for the foundation required to make sure that castle is sustained. If the foundation is not there, just a pop, and that bubble is gone. So put in the work. How do you put in the work? Begin by planting that seed of exactly what you want. Know exactly what you want. Set a goal for that dream. You now have the thought, what is the goal? It has to be specific, it has to be measurable, and it has to be time bound. On that same paper on which you just wrote your dream list, I want you to also write the specific goals. There's something about writing your goals because somehow your brain gets to work and tries to piece things together to make that goal come to fruition. So write down that goal on that same piece of paper that you just wrote your dream list. We are still in the writing process. On that same paper, what price do you need to pay to achieve each of those goals that you've outlined? For everything you wish to achieve or accomplish in life, for every thought that you want to bring into reality, there's always a price to be paid, and you must be willing to pay that price. Is it waking up earlier than before? Is it eating less food than before? Is it saving more money? Is it reading more books? Is it gaining new skills? Is it training yourself in a completely different career from what you've been trained to do in the past? There's a price to pay. Is it cutting less on your outings? Eating out? What is that price you need to pay for your goal? Write that down and be willing to pay that price. As much as possible on that paper, draft a detailed plan of how you will go about achieving those goals. Commit to taking action and do something every day that brings you closer to achieving that goal. Spend your time wisely. Remember that everything begins with a thought. If you can think it, put in the work required to bring that thought to reality, then it is possible. Get to work. Thank you very much for staying to the end of this video. I hope you learned something. Remember that it all begins with your thoughts. We're a community of people that want to see the best versions of ourselves, grounded in values and principle. Plant the seeds of those thoughts today and get to work about it. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button, turn on the notification so that you're made aware each time I make a new video. Till I come your way next week, keep spreading smiles, plant good thoughts, write out your dreams, get to work on it, and I assure you that with time, those thoughts will become your reality. Whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. Blessings.